Hey everyone, let's take a look at how we might use the debugger in Replit. Lots of IDEs come with debuggers and they all work similarly. So I have some code from a student. Looks like QTest is working. If we try resize test, however, we see that we have some issues happening. Notice here after adding 4 more for wrapping, we have a lot more values than we should. If I scroll down and I look at what happens for this test, so we're looking for the resize test. We see that we have num resize set to 8 and num resize extra set to 4. And we declare an instance of type deck called resize, which can hold 8 things. We print a message to the screen, testing resizing queue, add tail, and remove head. And then we have a for loop where we're calling add tail for the instance resize. And we're basically adding odd numbers. And then we remove 4 items in a for loop by calling remove head, essentially 4 times. And it shows us what we're removing: 1, 3, 5, and 7. Then we add 4 more, go through this loop 4 times, and then we dump the array, and we see that we're not getting the right values. I noticed we haven't removed the 1, 3, 5, 7 also, which we should have, and that resize is putting some zeros in there. But I think I want to look at add tail first just to verify it's working and to get our feet wet with the debugger. Let's take a look at deck.cpp. Let's add a breakpoint for our debugger by clicking to the left of 21. Now when we run our code in the debugger, it'll automatically stop at this location for us, so we can kind of take a look around and see what the values of variables are. We'll open the debugger by clicking it under Tools on the left, and then on the right we get a tab for it. We could use old school methods like printing, but debuggers are handy tools. To make it so we can see the debugger and the console at the same time, let's click the 3 dots, add a pane, and add it at the bottom. Then we'll move our debugger tab down. We can close this new tab. We can clear our console by clicking the trash can. I noticed it looks like there's some breakpoints from before, so let me go ahead and get rid of those. So I just have the line 21 in deck. Now I can click the play icon in the debugger. And notice it stops at line 21, really line 22. I can scroll down. Let's make this a little bigger. And I can look around at what variables I have right now. So in the deck, looks like I have size of 8, count is 0, and the first value I'm adding is 1. So that all seems good. The array doesn't tell me exactly what's in it. In other IDEs, you can actually add values to watch, so you could add particular locations in the array, and sometimes they'll just show you what's in the array. That's one thing that I don't like as much about Replit's debugger. Notice that we're currently on line 22, but I can click this next step and it takes me to line 26. Debuggers generally give you a choice between skip step and next step. Next step lets you drill down, so if it was a function call, you could jump to that function and go through the steps in that function and then come back. But if you choose skip step, then it just goes on to the next step in the current function. When using the debugger, you should try to anticipate what's going to happen for each step and then click next and see if it concurs. We're trying to figure out where one of our assumptions is wrong. So trying to guess ahead of time, and then when we see something that doesn't fit is a good troubleshooting strategy. Line 26 should put the value in the tail location of array, which we can't check, but we can check the next line where we're setting tail equal to tail plus 1 mod size. Tail is currently 0, so it should become 1 when we click next step. And we see that it does. Now we're at the end of the function, so when we click next again, we'll go back to where add tail was called. So we go back to main. Now if we click next here again in main, we're going to go back to the top of the loop. And then the first line in the loop is going to be to call add tail again. And if we click next step, it will take us into add tail so that we can step through that again. And if we continue stepping in add tail, we can go down and check to see that things are changing as we think they should. The index of tail is moving up. We're inserting a new value of 3. Now if I want, I can just jump to the next breakpoint so I don't have to go back to main. This will take me to the next call. I can step through and I can see that tail is now 3 and value is 5. And then I can continue and I see that tail is 4 and value is 7. So everything seems to be working properly. Tail is 5 and value is 9. Oh, hold on a second. Why is count 0? I should have some values in count. I've added several things, right? Every time I add a thing, I should add one to count. So it looks like count is not getting updated properly. Do we have a count variable? We must have one, right? Because it's showing in the debugger. I don't see one here. Maybe it's in deck.hpp. Ah, there it is. And it is initialized to 0, which is what it should be. But it also should be getting updated here in add tail whenever we add a new value. And also, really, we should be checking to see if we should resize when count becomes equal to size. Okay, let's clear our console and try running this again. Now we're getting an error. Terminate called after throwing in an instance of out of range. Array is empty in remove head. Let's take a look at remove head. We call is empty. Here's is empty. Looks like it's checking to see if head equals tail. But really, I think we want to make use of count. We want to see if count equals 0. And if it does, then we know our deck is empty. Let's try running it again. Oh, it looks like we're getting some good values. It looks like we need to do a little bit more work on this part, which adds 8 more values, but I feel confident you guys could troubleshoot that with the new tools you just learned.